the town board meeting of September 17th, 2024. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Morris, since you're nice and rested, why don't you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could all remain standing for a moment of silence. Today I'd like to remember a long-time Yorktown Lion, Carl Anderson, who lost a battle to cancer. Carl was a shining example of Lionism in our town. He selflessly worked for others. He did a ton of work with my brother Vinny, and even during COVID had secured a grant from Lions International for the Clorox 360 machines that we use to sanitize the ambulances after their calls. Great loss to the community, and our hearts is with him and his family. Thank you. Please be seated.
Yep.
Start with introductions to my right.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Luciana Howitt, Councilwoman.
Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Deputy Supervisor Sergio Esposito.
Councilman Patrick Murphy.
Councilwoman Susan Siegel.
Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
Okay. I'll just get right into reports. We got a lot of groups joining back up, starting back up. I think veterans meet tomorrow, Veterans Advisory. And then we also have our senior advisory meeting this Friday. We had some great events over the past couple of weeks. We had the Grange Fair, little rain on Saturday, but other than that, some great weather. And I hear that people came right back out after the rain. I want to thank all of those who attended our 9/11 ceremonies, and then also special thanks to the Elks, the Jefferson Village, the Jefferson Valley Fire Station, and also the town employees who helped with ours. It's so great to see the remembrance and to see people out there and making sure that we never forget, and those that lost their life are remembered, and we keep them alive in our memories and our prayers. On the 12th, Yorktown hosted the Westchester Municipal Officers Association dinner at Little Sorrento, and this was an opportunity for a lot of our personnel to meet with municipal officers from around the county, and it was a great evening. Little Sorrento, of course, did great for the food, but they had a guest speaker who spoke about some of the housing issues in New York, and he was really phenomenal. One of the few dinners I went to where I ended up staying over an hour speaking to the speaker about some different things and issues. So really nice time with that. On the 13th, there was a very successful Shed the Meds at Jefferson Village. I understand that within the first hour, they had to empty the medical bin twice. Someone came in with over 10 years of medication. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But you know, people are always like, "Oh my God, I got to wait for the next Shed the Meds now." You don't. There is a box located at our police station under lock and key that you could always dispose of your medicines. The way you do it is you put them into a Ziploc bag. You don't put them in with the container. No liquids. No vapors, but hard pills. You could bring that into the police station anytime and dispose of them in there 24/7. We also have a law that I know Assemblyman Slater was big on pushing, which was that our different pharmacies are required by law to take back medications. So, yep. So if you have those medications sitting around, especially if you have children, grandchildren, or a lot of visitors to your house, you really want to get rid of them because you don't know who's addicted and you don't want to add to that addiction. And I also, on the 14th, we remembered the 2-year anniversary of Jake Akara from our highway department passing after being struck by a driver on the work site. Matt Slater and Pete Harcum were in town. We did a little press conference to try to bring that awareness back and hopefully push for the state laws on work zone speeding and the cameras to be able to be used in the municipalities, which we have slated as Jake's Law. I do not see why they don't pass it. They're studying it, but if it can save lives, it's worth it. And it's proven that there are lots of workplace accidents and, on the roads. So I will just keep reminding, give them a break if you see people working. Instead of yelling at them about the delays, please thank them for, risking, especially the municipal crews. And then I guess I will bring up the fact that apparently a overzealous work crew started during our rush hour on Underhill Street this morning. That was rectified as quick as possible, and they will not be working during those rush hours anymore after a conversation with myself and the excavator. But they are running some sewer lines through the road, which are pretty important at this point. Tomorrow starts the Feast of San Gennaro in town. So that runs the 18th to the 22nd. I believe the fair opens at 5. The procession will be at 6. And then, of course, through the weekend for some great Italian food, fun, games for the family. Really, really great time for all. On Friday, the 20th, there will be a ribbon cutting at the library for the new study cubes at 11:30 a.m. If you utilize the library and haven't been there in a while, they've been doing a tremendous amount of work. Please come on out. And I believe, Diana, the 8th, they're going to be in with a presentation at the library?
Yes.
Yeah, so they'll also be in on October 8th with a nice presentation. But come join. There'll be some light refreshments and should be a great time over there at the library. I already mentioned our senior advisory meeting is back, and Rosemary's sitting there writing her notes now, getting all set for it. And also, busy day on the 20th, First Responders football game at 7 p.m. at Yorktown High School. And our staff photographer, I'm sure, will be there, Sergio.
Oh, yeah.
Always has some great photos from that game. On September 24th, Assemblyman Slater will be doing a senior resource fair at Jefferson Village in the JOC from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Great opportunity to find out some of the things out there that for the seniors. They have a ton of information and different things about doctors, Medicare, medicines, you name it, they're there. Voter registration town hall. There's going to be 2 special voter registration days, one on Saturday, September 28th, and the other one will be on Thursday, October 10th.
Correct. 12 to 9.
Yep, which is a change from last month. They changed the date from the 5th to the 10th, and 12 noon to 9 p.m. So if you know people that need to register, there's nothing more important than exercising our vote, especially when those who fought for our freedoms and fought for that right to vote have sacrificed so much. And I'm going to leave my last thing because I see Luciana has the flyer for it.
He's such a good supervisor. He went through all the list. So I just want to remind everyone that on October 7th, there'll be a memorial.
It's an October 7th memorial on the 30th.
Yeah, on the October 7th memorial. It'll be taking place on Monday, September 30th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Yorktown Community and Culture Center. And I really think that it's not only going to be an amazing event, but our leadership in the community is honoring the tragedies that are happening overseas. And they brought in a speaker who is actually a survivor from the Nova Music Festival. And I think it'll be really interesting. It's being hosted by Aviva Cohen's daughter, Talia, and her friends and other Jewish students. I feel like it brought not only bravery, but a lot of awareness into the community. And I hope that everyone comes out and supports.
Was that
It's at the
Capellini Center.
Yeah, the Capellini Center.
Was that
Yes,
presentation
you
last
can have
week?
this
Great.
flyer.
Yeah,
I
and then
say
more
free.
outside, too.
Yeah. So it's on the 30th, which is a Monday night, 6:30, 8:30, and it is called the October 7th Memorial. And I think it's a nice moment to bow. So, yeah, it's great.
Well, high school sports is back, are back. The other night I was at Lakeland High School. They entitled it The Blackout, so everybody wore black. It's pretty cool. They have a whiteout, and they always have a theme to all their games. A lot of fun. It was that was football. Baseball is back as well. I was at one of the baseball games. It's just I enjoy sports very much, and I think my favorite is high school sports. It's just it's clean, it's new, it's it hasn't been corrupted by money or anything like that, or politics. Say that again?
NILs.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. So it was a lot of fun. The First Responders Night this Friday. It's going to be in Yorktown High School, where the Huskers are going to be playing. So if you could come, you're going to have a blast, and there's going to be 1 million people there. It's a lot of fun. We did have yet another Eagle Scout, Michael Mesancello. He made Eagle the other day. I was privileged to be at his ceremony and present him an award from the town and from Assemblyman Matt Slater. Great kid. He listed skills like carpentry and accounting. So I asked him if I could hire him to fix my deck and do my books. It was you had to file taxes yesterday, 9/15, but it was yesterday for your businesses. So get your taxes in. I really am, always just astounded by how we remember 9/11. If it was only like that across the country, because many people have already forgotten how impactful 9/11 has been to so many families, so many lives. And it just wasn't that one day. I mean, people dying, through today. And it's just, sometimes I see people, they want to have parties and events on 9/11, and I'm like completely against it. I'm like, it's not a day for that. It's a day of reverence. It's a day of remembrance. It's really a sad day. But at the town of Yorktown, we don't forget. And we had a memorial at the Elks. We had the memorial at Jefferson Village, which was fantastic. And we had the 9/11 memorial, of course, next to the library. So kudos to the supervisor for organizing all of that. I mean, it was really, I'm not going to say it was a great day because it wasn't, but the ceremonies were very impactful and inspiring. I was at Shed the Meds too. I'll tell you my story. I got into an accident over a decade ago, and I was on no fault, and the doctor kept giving me Percocets, Vicodins, Perc 10s with codeine, with Tylenol, with this, all of this stuff, right? So I took one pill, hated it, right? And so I stopped filling my prescriptions because I didn't need it. I was taking a lot of Advil, a lot of Tylenol, around the clock. I just couldn't take this stuff. It didn't make me feel right. Didn't like it. My doctor tells me that if I don't continue, he goes to me, he goes, you need another prescription on one of my visits. I said, no, I don't need another prescription. I said, Doc, to be quite honest, I'm not taking them. I don't like them, right? It's just not my style. He goes to me, he goes, well, you got to fill the prescription. I said, why do I got to fill the prescription? If you don't fill the prescription, he goes, the insurance company is going to think you're not really hurt, and they're going to cancel your no fault. So what I did was the next best thing. I got a shoebox. I opened my safe, and I put the shoebox in the back of my safe. And every day, every time I filled the prescription, I put the pill bottle in the shoebox in the back of the safe because I have kids. And, I'll get to that as well. And it just sat there, and it got full and full and full. I think I had, 3,000 pills? I should have sold them and retired, but that's not my style either. So I did return them to the abyss on Shed the Meds Day, and I was happy to do that. But the reason why I put them in my safe, and the reason why I'm bringing this story up, is this stuff is coming at all of us, including our kids, from every direction, even places you'd least suspect. Everybody thinks they're coming from drug dealers. They come up from doctors. They come up who mean well. I'm not saying that they don't mean well, but I was getting pressure. I don't know how factual that is. If the insurance was if you don't fill your prescription, I don't know. But I did, and I ended up with all these pills in my house that I didn't want. So if you have there are very legitimate reasons to take this kind of stuff. Okay, some people get hurt, but it only takes for many, many, many people one time, and you're hooked, and you're done. Now you got these hands around your neck choking you, and you can't get them off of you unless you get help. And even with help, many people don't make it across the finish line. So lock this stuff up if you have it in your house. Don't think that your sock drawer is a safe space for this stuff, especially if you have kids. Put them in a safe. I think our supervisor made the comment. If you think your cabinet, what'd you say, the medicine cabinet in your bathroom is a safe place, people come in and out of your house. We have my son has his friends over all the time. My daughter has her friends over all the time. I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying that you don't know who's looking through that, you know. And not only kids, adults too. People that you'd least suspect. You know, you got somebody that delivers something, asks you to use the bathroom. Boom, they're in your medicine cabinet and they have your pills. So, you know, make sure you just secure this stuff and you lock that stuff up. It's really, really, really important. I'm going to stop pontificating. It's great to see such a big crowd. Thank you.
Alrighty, so I'm just going to reiterate what Ed said. They opened up the study cubes over in the library. About a couple weeks ago, I did a very detailed tour over there. It is incredible what the library has to offer. It has something to offer for the kids, the teens, the adults. The community room has local artists that every month they change it, and you can go in there. If you like something, you can buy it. You know, you sign up. They do a great job over there. You know, they have the Halloween haunted house coming up at the end of October, and that's all volunteer, and they do a phenomenal job with that. You know, so you know, just always keep that in the back of your mind if you have little kids and need something to do. The library is a great place. You know. And then today I was out with the garden club at the Patriot Park over here. The dedication that these women have, I happen to be the only guy there, you know? So they put me on the bulky stuff. But the dedication they have is incredible. They flagged out, and Saturday over the weekend they're gonna plant over 500 little shrubs, you know, in that little area. I don't know how they do it, but they have printouts. The dedication they have is incredible. And Sarah, a little shout out to you. Thank you for getting me involved, you know. And these guys are self-funded, and they, you know, if you need any volunteer hours or anything for kids, please go to the website for the garden club, and they'll give you something to do all the time. All right, Susan, last but not least, I used to sit there and everything was used by the time I got there.
I do have a few other things that haven't been mentioned. This September, we're celebrating a 50th anniversary, and I don't know that anyone is aware of what we're celebrating, but it's something that's important to all of us. It's the 50th anniversary of the passage of New York's Freedom of Information Law, otherwise known as FOIL. It was passed in 1970, and it became effective in September 1st, 1974. This was a landmark law that has helped open up transparency and accountability in our government. And you probably know that I've been one of the frequent users of it. Where's more? Okay. But it's important, and you all should know that it's available. And while on the website, if you go to the town clerk's link page, it tells you how to do that. There's an online form. It says it's 25 cents a page, but most of the documents you request come electronically, so there's absolutely no cost. You just have to be specific in what you ask for. You can't say, send me everything you have about X. You have to say, I want the document, either the letter of such and such or the minutes of such and such. You have to be specific. And the only concern that you have to watch out for is that there aren't too many redactions, people with a heavy black pen. But you can always appeal that. And the town they do have limits on how long they are supposed to respond. So use it. It's a valuable document that helps us all. Related to that, I just want to remind everyone, both here in the audience and those who are watching on TV, about the the service that the town provides to get agendas for meetings like the town board and the planning board, zoning board. Also, public notices of water's being shut off for some work, or there's a change in the garbage collection. And there's also a link for police alerts when there are traffic issues and roads are stopped. You can sign up. These are all free. You get the messages in your email box. Many people ask me, well, you know, I'm only interested in a certain development that's happening, and when can I go to the meeting? When will it be on the agenda? So if you're concerned about something, sign up, get the agendas in your email box. You look at it, you say, it's not nothing's of interest to me, or something is of interest, and you know when to come to a meeting. So again, it's the town clerk's link, and I urge everybody to take a look at it. One final item for residents who live on in and around Glenrock Street, because Underhill Farm is doing some installation of water mains, the water will be shut off on Thursday from beginning at 7 a.m. to maybe 6 or 7 hours, and some people are concerned. They thought that 7 o'clock you're either getting ready for work, you're getting kids ready for school, and the question that they asked me, which I couldn't answer, is why couldn't the shut-off start a little later, like 10 o'clock in the morning? So that's something that maybe
I'll send a message now. I wish I had known.
yeah, it's just, you know, again, if you're retired like I am, so it doesn't matter when you take your morning shower. But for other people, it is a concern. So this is something that just to remember. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Susan. Call our poet laureate to the podium.
Are we a sick society? It may seem so. After all, in my lifetime, a president has been assassinated, John Kennedy, shot Ronald Reagan, threatened with a gun, Gerald Ford twice, and now in the course of 2 months, an ex-president and current candidate has been shot at twice. For most of these attacks on our democracy, the motivations are evident, except in the first Trump attack, where the assailant was killed during the attack. Ronald Reagan's assailant was initially thought of political motivations, until it was determined that John Hinckley's bizarre reason was to impress Jodie Foster, an actress who never heard of him. And now we have Trump's second attack at Ryan W. Roth, a 58-year-old man with a record of weapons felony violations who reportedly went to the Ukraine last year to offer to fight despite having no military experience. One would have thought that Roth would have been under close government surveillance already, as he self-published a 2023 231-page anti-Trump book accusing him of threatening American democracy and telling readers that you are free to assassinate Trump. A lot of craziness, right? Really not so much. Only 6 individuals of hundreds of millions of Americans in 64 years have attempted to kill a president. And there is constant evidence of works of heroism and charity in our daily press and media. To be sure, we are a politically motivated, divided nation, possibly the most since pre-World War II. But we can overcome this seeming fracture, hopefully after the current election. We must certainly be vigilant as we go on, but we are not a sick society. Rather, we have a few sick people in a society that constantly strives to improve. With the proper focus, we can retrieve the spirit of we shall overcome. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, we'll open up for courtesy of the floor. I will remind everyone that you do not have to wait for courtesy of the floor. I get plenty of emails. You have phone calls. Things can be put on the record through that as well. I will say that if you have something for the public hearing later, you're more than welcome to start at courtesy of the floor, but you get a lot more time at public hearing, so you could wait for that at that point if you would like, and that's part of the record on the public hearing. So at that point, we'll open up for courtesy of the floor.
Good evening, everybody. Mark Lieberman, Wall Street. So this is purely perception. and it turns out it's not just my perception. It seems to be hitting the Yorktown Families Facebook page today as well. So I drive down Glen Rock. You mentioned Glen Rock. I drive down Glen Rock once a week, twice a week. And they've put in a curb as part of the property line, I guess. And now the road appears, so this is the perception, much narrower than it was before, and you can hardly imagine two cars passing each other now. Now, I lived in Belgium where the roads were really narrow and you had to pull off onto the grass to let somebody come by. This isn't that bad, but it really has narrowed down, and in some spots worse than others. So I don't know if they've met their boundary line, if they exceeded their boundary line. I don't know who's watching what's going on to say, no, the road has to stay this wide. But I really think somebody should take a look at it, maybe from the planning department or engineering, to see if they've exceeded their responsibilities. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Good evening, Town Board. I am Howard Gould. I've been a resident since 1999. Yeah, well, I was right. The community, no, I love Yorktown. Everybody knows that. Anyway, let me get to my speech. Like the community, I am against the recyclable plant. Very much against it, and I agree with Jefferson Village. Anyway, like the community, the traffic, the trees, the density, we do not want the recycling center, and I repeat, we do not want it. Okay. The responsibility for the work and spread with the staff of our police, headed by Chief Noble, the firemen, ambulance, and highway department by Dave Paganelli, which are all doing an excellent job. Let's work together. We are in the same boat with different oars. As the town residents, let's think positive. Let's turn lemons into lemonade. We are not happy with the traffic situation as it is now, and we don't want it to get worse. This is what I will focus on. We have a right to say how we feel in a respectful way to each other, and we are being heard in a respectful way. Together we can accomplish anything, and that after all, Yorktown is our town. Here in Yorktown, everything is done with a deep dive study, carefully, well-organized, systematic, and inputs, questions, and concern. I say kudos to the town board. Thank you very much. Yet I believe there are always possibilities. Like my wonderful neighbors and friends, I feel looking at many issues that have been talked about, questions are part of consideration. Is health, getting patients picked up by ambulance, taking to and from, I'm very nervous, taking to and from the hospital with a life-saving, timely manner. As far as the traffic, we residents who are driving daily, I would call residents experts. Traffic, noise, sound, water floods, and air pollution. You hear about that at every meeting. I don't even know why I'm repeating it. You may see me struggle, but you will never see me quit. If I have to repeat myself, I will. To the Yorktown neighbors, it is about showing respect. We do not want the recyclable center. Respect, it's spelled R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Sung by the great Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. So please read my shirt. Nip it in the butt, and like Nancy Reagan used to say, just say no. Have a nice evening, and I'll beat my 3 minutes. Yes.
Thank you, Howard. I think Larry did that too.
Mary Jane, can you turn the light? Yeah, thank you.
Larry, that's a tough
Are
act.
you trying to keep us in the dark? You hit the switch on
Did
the way
I
up.
do that?
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
Kind of liked it better.
Yeah.
All right. Larry Killian, 34-year resident. Thank you, Susan, for your comments on development proposals presented at the September 3rd meeting. Ed, as a new supervisor, now of a multi-party board, I hope you will encourage constructive criticism and discussion. In my opinion, it's sorely needed, and here are some examples from the Toll Brothers EAF. The developer should provide written response to how they will avoid or mitigate the disturbance of more than 20 acres on steep slopes, as identified and requested in the New York City DEP letter of June 26. In terms of traffic, dozens and dozens of pages of data were all collected in 2022. Contrary to what was stated at the hearing, additional counts of subsequent developments are simply not included in that document. Why was the developer allowed to collect data just before the opening of Trader Joe's? Also, if you look at all of that data, the highest traffic volumes are not from 5 to 6 p.m. when they did what was supposed to be the peak analysis, but it's during the afternoon school dismissal time. So why was this error not caught for that analysis? The two most important intersections in the neighborhood are omitted from the analysis, and they need to be included. Old Compound and Pine Grove. Looking at the data again, most of the traffic coming down Catherine doesn't turn left, it turns right and gets to that intersection, which is a very dangerous intersection because it's just 20 yards from 202. And also should be included Route 202, where people turn into Staples Plaza by BJ Gas. The extra amount of traffic from Walgreens should be included. This extra volume will, on 202 will force the traffic at Pine Grove and Old Compound not to turn left onto 202, but to turn right, where in the afternoon, kids are getting off buses and walking to their houses, mostly on streets without sidewalks. So the traffic study really needs to be redone. And the next section is electricity, and the electricity estimate is completely wrong. It's in the line for a single house rather than 118. So really, nobody seems to be looking at the EAFs in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Good evening. Mary Jane Killian came when he came 34 years ago. Also want to talk about another aspect about development. It often seems that when we talk about development and sustainability, it's one versus the other, but it doesn't have to be that way. Here in Yorktown and across the country, there is a need for new housing, but if climate-smart policies are made to be part of the planning, it can be a win-win. Towns can and should help developers reduce their carbon footprint by implementing policies that encourage sustainable building practices, like requiring energy efficient standards for new construction, solar panels, heat pumps, and EV charging stations. But we need to work with developers early in the planning process to ensure their feedback and input is considered when developing sustainability policies. And then we need to require developers to track and report the carbon footprint of their projects. Yes, we need new housing, but as a condition of approving greatly increased density, developers should be required to demonstrate how they'll use solar panels, heat pumps, provide charging capability to mitigate the increase in our town's carbon footprint. This would be a win for the town and for future residents of any development who would then have greatly reduced energy costs. For some people, development is automatically a dirty word. It definitely does not need to be. If done right, it can be clean, green, and win-win. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Jane.
Okay, I made notes at the dinner table, so I'm just trying to look for them.
Best place to make notes?
Okay, I'm gonna wing it. Hi, I'm Diane Glass. I'm a 30-year resident of Yorktown. On August 8th, I came before you concerning the noise ordinance, specifically trying to call to attention, heavy construction type of noise that was plaguing my neighborhood and the whole area around Croton Heights. I see tonight at 5:32, I got an updated agenda that this item is back on public hearing, and I have no documentation. I couldn't find it on the website. It wasn't in the back of the room, and I really can't respond. So I'm asking if perhaps you could postpone this, give the public some time to digest any changes, if any. And I know when you came to visit the site, you spoke about having a separate ordinance for construction. And I don't know what the status of that is. So perhaps you could address that, and in the interest of open government and participatory government, I stumbled on that too as I practiced, maybe we could just postpone this and let the public, give them a time to respond. So that's my comments. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Diane.
Good evening, Council. My name is John Novecchio, 20-year resident of Yorktown Heights.
Hi, John.
Just wanted to make some comments about the recycling center. Obviously, that we have some opposition about it, and rightfully so. Just to make a couple points, this project is completely inappropriately positioned for traffic, for neighborhood situations. I don't understand how it came about. There are many environmental concerns, emergency conditions such as fire, soil contamination in the center of a neighborhood. This opens up as well other commercial applications that should not be placed in a residential neighborhood. It's mind-boggling that this even was put on the table. Allowing this in 2012, the zoning change, I have no idea how the previous administration allowed a zoning change for light industrial use in 2012, as I said. So I'm sure there's been plenty of letters, plenty of opposition, plenty of feedback from the public around these neighborhoods, which I'm in as well. And I just want to voice my concerns and make sure this is appropriately handled. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Good evening, Sarah Wilson. Just had two topics to touch on. Thank you so much, Councilman Murphy, for mentioning the Garden Club of Yorktown's most recent and most ambitious project right here behind Town Hall. I just took a quick walk down there, and I saw hundreds of colored flags that have been—
500.
Yes, 500. I didn't count them, but I knew the plan was 500. Flags that have been placed in the soil to signify which plants are going in where. The Garden Club is still trying to raise funds to purchase all of the plants. So you can go on the Garden Club of Yorktown website, and I can leave a couple of flyers at the back of the room if anyone's interested in getting more information about it. And we're very excited to have the site ready in time for our Veterans Day ceremonies, and excited about the opportunity to honor our veterans and to beautify our town, this section of our town, in this way. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on, just because I saw it on the agenda for tonight, on the final agenda, a resolution about the purchase of 47 mobile radios and 2 base stations for the Yorktown Highway Department. I recalled that when the Yorktown PD got their new radio system, our intention was to redeploy the old police radios for the highway department. And I just wondered if maybe in context of the resolution you can provide a little background. Maybe that wasn't feasible, or maybe this is additional to that, just to provide a little explanation on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Okay.
Motion to close courtesy of the floor.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Just All right, just to hit on a couple things, Mark, I'll ask Dave to go out and measure the roads
Yeah,
tomorrow,
for sure.
because that's a function of highway, and they'll know exactly where they are. I do know that when you put a curb, and actually we had a conversation about this, looking at some traffic calming, just putting up a sidewalk and curbs makes that road look narrow and slows traffic down. So it could be illusional, but we could look at that. Howard, thank you for your comments, and we'll have the hearing on that soon.
Thank you.
I'm going to skip to and see if John wants to come up on that. But Diane, the law for the noise is pretty much what it was. There's nothing new per se. We are going to do separate laws. We have our building department and our attorney working on laws for rock hammering and for blasting. All of the other municipalities around us have separate laws. It's just something that hasn't come up here forever, I guess, or not that it was bad. I know I did speak to the contractor who said they would go to half days on Saturday. I hope that happened. I drove by a couple of times. I know they're done right now, so. If you want to touch base with me during the week and let me know where you're at with that. But I was on site. I saw them taking out the jackhammer, and we should be a lot better there now. John, I will say that area's been light industrial. The recycle center was added to it in that law change, and it, one of the reasons that it's come up for discussion and a hearing is that what it was presented as back then is different from the uses of what are now transfer stations and what's going on. So that's some of what we've looked at, and we'll have that discussion and hear some comment. But in reality, it's always been light industrial. So when you bought a house over there, it's been an industrial area, just not utilized fully. So unfortunately, that is where that is. Sarah, for the flowers, yeah, it's a great thing. And I don't know why Patrick got off easy. I was when I was down there last week, they had me carrying shovels and picks up to the parking lot.
Timing.
I guess so. And then that was actually on 9/11. I was down there with them. They were doing work there, which very appropriate time to work at that Veteran Memorials Circle. And then the radios, I guess there are a large number of them that are not working at this point. So that's, and I'll ask Dave to give a total update, but it's also supposed to go in all the vehicles, and there are quite a few vehicles as well. So
I think it's also an issue with the police station always had problems with the transmitters, and maybe they couldn't get it back online.
Yeah, but Dave could give you more. I was questioning because I saw them in the box, and there are a lot that are just not working properly. John, did you want to address any of the traffic study stuff, or just real quick on the planning?
Just to say that I'll look at the video and I'll go through his
list.
Yeah, I appreciate
Thanks,
that.
John.
Thanks, John. But yeah, there is a process through planning. They do look at these things very carefully. The sustainability also, John. I know I've spoken to some of the people, like they're doing heat pumps up over here, and there's a lot of that sustainability. I don't know how much of it is a requirement, but I do know, not a requirement, but it is a lean towards and suggestion.
Well, I think it's an encouragement. There's a lot of LEED developments, like LEED, where they can do solar panels, and there are tax breaks with it for the developer. But I think it does end up becoming a developer's discretion to do so. And the encouragement, of course, can come from the town. I don't know by law, I guess I'll have to ask you, Adam, and I'll look into it more if that could be something that we can actually try to put a strong arm on. But I do hear what you're saying, because that green does allow for tax breaks and developer incentives in that. And just to be clear, Diane, when Supervisor Lackerman was speaking, so we tightened up the noise ordinance, and then what we realized is your concerns are all valid, right? And we went and we looked at how we only have one one umbrella of noise, and we are going to have separate laws for all of those things. Like if you go down county, like the blowers for the leaves that can only operate a certain amount of time, or whatnot. So we are going to have, and we're going to try to move on them quickly, strategic laws for them, both for development or also for a homeowner who's doing work outside where it would be of concern. And even though it was light industrial in your neighborhood, the 4C, I think, was never for it to be industrial. Like light industrial could be, John, as you were speaking before about like, you know, how could this be? Is this appropriate? As you know, like there are towns that like it's all residential or it's agriculture and residential or it's agriculture, commercial, residential. Zoning can change per lot, right? At this point, light industrial could be just light industrial and then, you know, we don't have a real use. Maybe it was going to be, could have also been like, let's say a planting center or a tree farm or something like that. So I hear what you're saying, and I heard the words that you use when you said like certain things are inappropriate and shouldn't be there, and all of those things are being taken under consideration.
Office building is obviously different than.
Yes, yes.
So obviously.
Right.
Okay, but we'll do that after.
Yeah.
We can't have back and forth.
Okay, that's okay.
John, I'm Italian. I like to do it, but I get yelled at.
Yes.
Yes, I get yelled at. A lot.
Right. Anyone else, or?
I mean, no, I think everything's been said. Let's get to the public hearing. Let's do it.
Okay, just a few comments, Larry, on some of the concerns that you raised dealing with Toll Brothers. I think that was one of the functions of the public hearing, to raise these issues, and I hope that the Toll Brothers will answer them to the satisfaction, certainly, of the town board before they do any rezoning. Mary Jane, on sustainable development, you focused on new development. But I also have it in the back of my mind to call in, we have laws on the books where we give exemptions for installation of solar.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more for people to put it on their roofs. And I think I would like to have a presentation both by either the Climate Smart Committee or there's a Sustainable 2000 or 250, I don't remember the full name, to have them come and explain the laws that we do have, both for Yorktown's exemption and anything else that would be available for NYSERDA, because we do have to promote more solar and any other heat pumps or whatever. Diane, on your noise thing, here I have two things. One, I did have an issue with the lateness of the agenda. I got mine at 4:49 today. So I was surprised to see it on the agenda, and I have spoken to the supervisor, and I think he's going to try to get the agendas out earlier. There are complications and issues. Nothing is ever simple, but I think it is a disservice to people who are following a specific issue and have no idea that it's going to be on the agenda. And even here, the public notice would not have given you that, because you would find it at dinner time when you already have commitments and you can't get your thoughts together. I do feel, though, that the construction issue was a noise issue, and it should have been in the law, but that's my opinion. And I just hope that when the town board decides to work on, we already have a law that regulates the rock drilling and the hammering. It requires permits to do that and blasting, that they then will add the noise thing, and that they will get that done as quickly as possible. And it doesn't have to take that many months to just add one or two provisions dealing with the noise.
You're part of us too, right? We will get it all done.
What did I say?
That you're we
Oh,
now.
I find that I'm having an issue. You know, I for so many years I was they,
I know.
they and you. So my pronouns are not always. I'm getting used to it. All right, and that was it. And then on the radios, I just was wondering, was there a compatibility issue with what the police have and what these old radios can do? Because they always have to communicate, especially during storm events. So I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so like I said, when I looked at the pile, I was told they were the ones that were not working.
Mm-hmm.
So just aging out and being there. Sergio pointed out the problem that there were always the communication blind spots, which is why we had to go with the new system anyway. So it's a combination of that's really creating this. But bottom line is we need the safety for our drivers. They need to be able to communicate. I was actually out plowing with Dave one day when his hydraulic line went on the plow. So when that happens, the plow just goes onto the ground, and guess what? We were stuck there. But it's just a matter of, you know, getting the right materials for the job.
And the police was totally funded through a grant, correct?
I believe that all the police came out of a grant. They've had a couple of grants come.
Yeah, he was working really hard on it.
What's
The old radios don't. The new radios fall back to almost like a cell phone. If you can't get the communications through the standard channels, the old radios don't have that fallback. So this will really improve their communication. And if they're not working properly, maybe it was from moving. Who knows? But it's definitely something that's necessary. It's something that really should happen. So, Pat, I'm sorry, did I?
No, that's the same thing. They're just totally funded, and the way they use, the KU bands or whatever it is, that's obsolete technology. They're going towards cellular technology.
What's the status of the new police communication system?
I believe that's up and running.
That's up right.
We're feeding off the Westchester County system now, which is secure. It's all secure communication. It's not just anybody can listen in, that kind of stuff.
All right.
We will move on. Public hearings. We're going to reconvene public hearing for the proposed local law to consider amending section 2016-2 of the Code of the Town of Yorktown entitled Peace and Good Order. Adam, so from the last iteration that we had the public hearing on, was there any change, like one time change, or did that happen already?
No, that was, I think, previous iteration, so there's been no significant changes.
Okay. And are you looking for? Thank you.
Some of them might be a little bit dated. Diana keeps them all there. But some of them might be a little older.
Many of them might have been already in.
So I think these have been read in, but
We'll do it again.
We do have a letter from Diane Glass about the rock hammering and the noise there.
So
I hear ya.
Do they know that this is a public hearing for the sound?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
You're getting ready.
We have something, County Planning Board, that's non-jurisdictional for.
We're talking about the public hearing for peace and good order right now, right? Not the recycling. Just so we're clear, okay?
And then,
Sorry.
Stay there. It's going to be a couple minutes.
and then,
I was like, I don't know, something's not right.
and then we had a comment from a Susan Siegel. Anyone ever hear of her? From May,
No, they're old. They're from like April.
and I think this was all addressed.
This is when you were a they.
Not us.
Now you're a we.
All right, and this has been read in. This is from May.
The issue is what I responded to in terms of courtesy, that I thought that the construction noise was a noise issue and belonged in the noise ordinance, and I didn't want to wait until we got around to dealing with the amendments to the rock drilling hammering thing, which was more of a permitting issue for blasting and rock hammering.
So Susan, I had this.
It's a toss-up.
Yeah, because we
I
wanted
just-
to also be specific so we can hammer on it for a specific law.
So I understand
it
what
can't
you're
be
saying about
ambiguous.
the rock hammer and the blasting. There's an issue that's ongoing with noise in different establishments that needs to be addressed, where I don't think we have any permits that have come through recently now for rock hammer or blasting since the two on Hanover. That being said, there's a sense of urgency in getting that done, but there's also a sense of urgency in making sure that we address the noise issues on the neighborhood level.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're near a business and there's some different issues. That's what the impetus of this was, to start this, and I'd like to follow through on that.
So yeah, so I had this discussion with the supervisor, and I was same way. It's a toss up for me. I mean, can we get the construction kind of ordinance or whatever for rock drilling and stuff like that into this? The issue was, and he made some very good points, that, you know, we really want to get this piece in good order passed right now, and the supervisor and myself had this discussion that you know, we're going to look to get this separate ordinance for construction work and drilling and hammering and that kind of stuff as soon as we can. So we're gonna move forward on that as well. But, you know, to the supervisor's point, we really don't have any of those applications in front of us right now. And do we delay this the public hearing of the peace and good order law and make it this huge unwieldy law, or do we make it into separate pieces, especially given the time frame we have?
So it'd be multiple laws.
Yeah. So
Specific laws.
Yeah.
So I agree with you,
All right.
Ed.
Thank you.
And most towns do specific laws because then they're very clear to what the consequences are. When you start compounding laws or compounding any sort of description, what ends up happening is it plays the ambiguous game, and then everyone just assumes. And we want to be very clear. Like, the noise for X is Y, and that's it. There's no bending the rules because of exceptions and whatnot.
I just do want to point out that it's not just noise from rock drilling or hammering. It's noise of construction.
No, I'm aware.
And as currently written, the ordinance specifically exempts construction noise, and that could also be a bother from any other type of construction. Heavy construction equipment can be burdensome in a residential area on weekends.
Correct. So what we have to do is, when there is a construction permit that's being taken out,
No.
it has to have no, I hear what you're saying about this law.
Yeah.
I'm saying there should be something separate, that when someone gets its permits to do construction, they have to abide by certain laws that have to do with those.
It just should not be exempted from this, just the way you would exempt organs, bell chimes, and there's a whole section of what you exempt. It doesn't have to exempt construction equipment, is all I'm saying. You don't need a separate law for that. I don't want to argue the point.
But those equipments who need to do work need rules or something so that they can actually get the job done.
Yeah.
So it would be a very lengthy noise law, but if you take that out and make its own construction law where it has the items that is for heavy equipment, like jackhammering, chipping, blasting, all that, right? Then it's specific to the construction, and it's the law you abide when you file a permit, or John says you can go and do construction.
Well, I'll have a conversation with John Landy on this, because honestly, I have an issue if you're going to tell me I can't construct a deck in my backyard on the weekend because I'm using a nail gun or I'm using a hammer.
That's not
You know
what we're talking about.
But that's what this will come down to.
Right, that's what it'll be.
And
it can't be
and
that.
I have a problem with that. People have property rights. They have the right to improve their homes, and
So Ed,
I'm not going to get buried in the weeds on.
so if you put everything under a noise law, the thing can be, it's just going to keep growing
unwieldy.
and growing and
It's
growing.
unwieldy.
Versus, have smaller laws, and they're more concise and clean, and they're more enforceable.
Right. It could qualify as long laws, almost as long as our tree law, which is, I think, 3 pages shorter than Atlas Shrugged, for those of you that have read it. So I could tell who read Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah, me too. Let's
And I read the tree law. I know that law.
let's hear from the public.
Yep,
Yeah,
we're
let's go
ready.
for it.
Susan, you're fine on moving forward?
Yeah. It needs to be done.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Senabrino. I'm on the Open Space Committee, and I have a comment to make. We spend a lot of time arguing about or discussing this proposed garbage recycling facility. Are you aware that there's a stream in that land that goes directly into the lake?
John, I'm sorry, this is the noise ordinance we're on right now.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, forgive me.
That public hearing's
Mea culpa.
a couple minutes.
The other one is, the next hearing is a public hearing on the recycling.
Okay. Can I
Take
just
a
say one
couple
thing?
minutes.
Yeah, of course.
We're putting the cart before the horse. That Route 6 is an absolute disaster and a disgrace to the town of Yorktown. They got weeds this high in the middle of the road. The only improvement on Route 6 for the last...
Ladies and gentlemen, please, You're applauding for a comment about New York State, and then
Yeah, I know that, Ed. I know that.
John,
If you can get them to cut the grass, we would appreciate
Actually,
it.
Assemblyman Slater's working.
John,
Yeah.
John, we're talking about the noise ordinance. Can you just postpone your comments just for 5
Okay.
minutes? Let's get
Yeah,
through this, and then
Thank
you
you.
could come back. We
you
definitely want to hear what
after.
you have to say.
Okay.
All right, guys, please let's stay on topic so this way we're not,
thanks.
we don't frustrate other people that are here for other purposes.
I'm back.
Hi, Dan.
So,
Ring it.
what I wanted to say at the public comment section was a discussion of process. And so I'll bring it up now because it seems like all my comments were already discussed. Honestly, if you're going to have a public hearing, public needs notice. We can't get it an hour and a half before. And it would also be nice, it's just a link, if we could have the documentation to support that. It's very hard to make a cogent argument when you don't really have the facts before you. So I'm asking you, in the future, when you have a public hearing, if you're not going to postpone or whatever, give the public enough time to respond. That was my original comment. So now to the,
So I hear that, and also, were you able to understand that this is still the same law that we did discuss before?
well, I didn't know that.
I know,
didn't
now you know.
that. Now
right.
I know, but
Yeah.
that was what I was going to say now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
I just want
so-
to make sure you got that one at least
So-
from back in April.
I'm going to weigh in. I mean, I'm fine with you taking it separately, as long as it happens. And I would rather have a well-constructed law than one you have to pull back, which has happened. So that's fine. Also, we're going into November. Construction's going to dry up. In the meanwhile, you'll have it on the books.
Before spring.
Well, actually, you should get it on the books January, February, because that's when the planning starts. So let's, a little construction background. So that's what I hope to see as a law by the end of December on this noise issue. So I do thank you. I agree with Susan. It would be nice if it could be an omnibus thing, but that's just a matter of style, and that's fine with me. Just want to make sure it gets done.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
do too, so thank you.
And Diane, I will tell you that the clerk's office is phenomenal about having everything online.
Yeah, I
With the
couldn't
links.
find it, though.
No, because you're probably looking for something new.
If you go under the town clerk's page, under government, and you go down to town clerk, and then you simply go on the side to where it says pending legislation, scroll down and it's right there.
Okay, good to know.
Click on
Well,
any of the laws.
We'll try to
scrambling
have,
my evening
we'll
and
try to have
trying
a
to
cheat
say,
sheet
you
for
know,
that.
so
Thank
Now we
you.
know, pending.
more time.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ann.
Hello, Town Board again. It's Howard Gould. I've been here since 1999. Diana Quasp. Hello. Please give me 1 minute because I tend to ramble on and I don't want to ramble on.
Okay, we'll cut
As
you.
far as, and I'm going to go directly with the subject. As far as the noise, it sounds like a good idea to spell each situation out because it's specific. If you look at all the situations that are noisy, I think because I heard some noise going on and I was like, what's going on? And if you spell it out, it's like we talk about the track. This lane you can run. Okay, I'm rambling on. But basically, I'll make the point. If you spell it out, they'll know what to do. If it's too noisy, like if you're just hammering in a nail, it's a different story. So spell it out, and that's my story, and I'll stop.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Howard.
Howard. Any more comments on peace and good order? Okay, I'd like to make a motion, or have a motion to.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, look, I think, we've been holding on to this unchanged for quite a while. Do we have a motion to, move the law?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes?
All right.
All right.
That what you needed?
Thank
One
you
in the
very
books.
much.
You can't use sign language.
All
with
right,
me. I
and that was it for public hearings tonight?
Thank you. Good evening. Have a nice night.
All right. So we are going to convene a public hearing for proposed local law to amend Chapter 300 of the Town Code of the Town of Yorktown entitled Zoning Regarding Recycling Facilities. Adam, you want to explain the change that's proposed?
Sure. 1 second, Tommy. second. Sure. So, in the planned light industrial districts, there's a special permit for accessory outdoor storage or recycling activities, and the local law before you would basically eliminate those uses in the planned light industrial district.
Very good. So, the plan is to change the law to take that use out, and for that, we'll take public comment at this point.
Hi, I'm Charles O'Neill, President of
Charles.
Jefferson Village, in case you don't know.
Charlie.
I'm confident in saying that the board and the guests do not want a repeat performance on September 2nd, the town board meeting that ended at 2 a.m.
No.
It actually that was the first town board I ever seen go in one day and come home the next, but at any rate, I'll make it brief.
God.
Wasn't our first.
I'll make it brief. Instead, I ask all the Jefferson Village people to stand up, and please raise your hand if you don't want to recycle in a transfer station. And there's your answer. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Charlie. Look at you bringing everybody together. I know you well.
Good evening. My name is Ann O'Neill, and I live in Jefferson Village.
Hi, Ann.
As you all know, Jefferson Village is a 55-plus active community, which has 1,000 units. The owners save their hard-working money to purchase their retirement homes. The average age is 75, but we do have some centennials. The majority of the residents have age-related illnesses that require frequent doctor and/or hospital visits and 911 calls. First, let me begin with a definition of air pollution from the World Health Organization. Air pollution is a contamination of the indoor or outdoor environment by any chemical, physical, or biological agent that modifies the natural characteristics of the atmosphere. Motor vehicles and industrial facilities are common sources of air pollution. I'll repeat that. Motor vehicles and industrial facilities are common sources of air pollution. With that said, I would like to discuss the effects of the recycle transfer station on the overall health status of our residents. For a healthy, aging person, polluted air can cause difficulty in breathing, flare-ups of allergy or asthma, and other lung problems. Long-term exposure to air pollution can raise the risk of other diseases, including heart disease and cancer. Now think of the Jefferson Village residents whose lungs are already compromised with diseases such as COPD, CHF, emphysema, and are on oxygen to improve their pulmonary function. Air pollution can intensify their symptoms. Let's not forget, there will probably be at least 400 recycled trucks per day, except Sunday, on the roads in Yorktown causing air pollution. This brings me to my next concern. Route 6 is the main road that Jefferson Village residents use. At the present time, it takes Jefferson Village residents at least 30 to 40 minutes to go to the local doctors or Hudson Valley Hospital. What will be the ETA when 6 is jammed with recycled trucks? The EMS representative from the Mohegan Lake stated at the September 3rd board meeting that his department is stretched thin with one full-time employee and his staff is supplemented with volunteers. Hopefully, there is full staff at the firehouse at all times, and the volunteers do not have to use an overcrowded Route 6 to get from their homes to the firehouse. Additionally, will a fire apparatus be delayed in getting to Jefferson Village due to the heavy traffic caused by the recycled trucks? My second topic is the value of our homes around the vicinity of the recycle center. At a town board meeting, Mr. Fine responded to a resident who asked them to change the existing garage that was there for 30 years. Mr. Fine stated, as long as the garage does not change the character of the neighborhood. Well, isn't the recycle center changing the character of Yorktown Heights neighborhood? If you Google Yorktown Heights, it is described as a quiet residential area. Will that description be true if the recycle station is approved? There will be at least 400 trucks per day entering and leaving the station from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. According to onebuyer.com, environmental factors decreasing home values are noise and air pollution and landscape elements. The article also states people do not want to live in unpleasant sounds or smells. Good luck if you want to sell your condo or your home. At the July 25th Town Board meeting, the attorney for the recycle center stated that the recycle transfer station will have no effect on the neighborhood. Really? You are not living in our community and we don't want it. I asked the town board members why you would even think of approving the recycle transfer station when it is only receiving negative reviews in the local newspapers and from your local residents. We don't want it. Thank you.
And I would like to state for the record, this is the first time we're actually seeing anything in regards to the transfer station before this board.
Those are the planning boards.
So, yeah, so we have not seen anything. We have, this is a blank slate per se, other than the other meetings.
I can't talk to you now.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Of course you can.
Well, you would have to step back up, but I'm just to let you know, we have not had this
Before
us.
From the planning board.
Right.
Well, that's not our problem. That's yours. Then you should communicate with your other planning boards. That's
and that's not what I'm saying. I know it's there, but we chose to take this on now.
And I give you credit.
It's an as of right usage as of now. There's some zoning issues on boundaries, but and setbacks. But we have. There's a process to follow.
Of course.
And they've been following their due process. This is not that part of the process. This is something different where we're looking at the zoning in particular and the usage, but we have not seen it before. So please, we have to take all of the public comment as we talk about everything, and then listen to all sides of the story.
Right.
And then
So
we'll make our decisions based on that.
Jefferson Village appreciates you listening to us, and I will repeat, we do not want it. I want that on the record.
I think
The majority of the residents in Jefferson Village do not want that recycle unit on 6.
We
And I
understand,
explained all the problems, and I thank you for listening.
And,
No problem.
and
Thanks, Ann.
the supervisor, go back. The supervisor explained we do have the responsibility to listen to all sides.
Of
You know how I feel about it from being on the planning board side, and so and I don't believe it's in the character or the spirit of the law. But that's something that I have yet to have to decide. I need to listen to all sides, and it's our
course.
responsibility to do that. So when you said why we would even think of it. It's our responsibility to do that. We that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean we're for or against any project, and not just this project, but any other project.
We realize that.
Okay, great.
But it's always good to listen to 1,000 units in Jefferson Village with 1,500 people.
Gotcha.
We do not want it.
It's important to listen to a single-family house with one
open
resident.
communication.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dwayne Simmons, and I'm one of Charlie's people.
All right.
And one of Ann's people, and we don't want it. You know, I was wondering, I wish I had listened more in civics class because I don't even know if you guys, and maybe you can tell me, if you have the power to say no. I mean, definitively say no. Because as everybody else is saying, I mean, you can see the hardship that this would cause. You can see that health issues and all the other issues that it would cause, especially traffic issues. I would hate to think of some kid being rushed to the hospital and so much traffic and they don't make it there in time. You know, all the things that could possibly go wrong with this, you know, I don't understand how we got here. And like I said, maybe I didn't listen well in civics class because I think some things that come across your desk, you can say, no, this is crazy. If they said, we want to build a zoo and we want to let lions run free in the street, you could say no. So if there's something that is ridiculous, if there's something that causes a health hazard, if there's something that everybody in the community, and I'm sure you too, don't want, do you have the power to just say no? You know, that's really the question, because I notice we come here week after week or whenever, and we all say the same thing, you know, and you have the pulse of the people. You know what they want, and you know what they don't want. And this is one of the things they definitely don't want, because it doesn't serve any purpose for us. You know, it doesn't enhance our community. And, you know, the other thing is we trust you guys to do the right things for us. You know, that's why you're here, you know. And I mean, I've said this before, to look out for the people in the community that can't look out for themselves. You know, when you guys do that, you're doing a great job. When you listen to people who just want to make some money or just want to, you know, they don't really care, you know, you're not really doing the job that you were elected to do. And I know you do want that, because I don't think they pay you enough money for these headaches. So it's not about the money. So just to echo what Ann said and what Charlie said, we don't want this. Thank you.
Joanne Sillick, Yorktown Heights. Might come as a great surprise to all of you, but I don't want it either. To begin with, I would like to thank the board for your unanimous vote to hold this public hearing. I am asking you to pass a local law to take the recycling facility out of the town code. I question, how is it permitted to be in the light industrial district in Yorktown zoning code? After doing some research under light industrial and permitted uses, I found the following. I quote, "Such uses shall be designed to operate in such a manner that it will not emit smoke, odor, objectionable waste, and which will not produce noise beyond that permitted by the city ordinance." Doesn't a recycling plant transfer station emit all of these? In previous presentations, asbestos was also mentioned. Isn't that considered objectionable waste? If the local law is not passed, just imagine what Route 6 would be like. There would be 800 tons of garbage being hauled on the road, 56-foot trailers breaking up the state road, 12 hours per day, 5 days a week, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I ask the applicant, do you live anywhere near the location of this proposed recycling facility? I do, along with many others who would have to face the consequences of allowing this project to pass, such as lack of safety, traffic, noise, odors, quality of life, and real estate investments that would plummet. The owner of the property has the right to sell under the present zoning. Would you consider changing this zoning? William LaScala, a member of the planning board, said he would not recommend the variance that was requested since the owner knew the zoning restrictions on the property when it was purchased. There is also another project before the board, Navajo, with 254 units. It seems that the board has acted rather quickly holding this public hearing. But when I asked the board previously when you will hold the public hearing regarding the Navajo project, the board was silent. Therefore, I am asking again, when will you hold the public hearing on the Navajo project? We, the people, have various ways of communicating with our government, in person, in writing, email, voting, and with petitions. A group of us have been knocking on doors all over Yorktown and neighboring towns in opposition to the recycling facility. People were overwhelmingly against it. I personally did not find one person who was for it. The number of petitions speak loudly and clearly. I am delivering 1,513 plus. I got more petitions tonight. I am delivering them to our town clerk, Diana Quast. The people of Yorktown and other neighboring towns have spoken. We now await your decision in response. I am hoping that you will seriously consider our request to pass the local law to take the recycling facility out of the Yorktown Code. I hope you will keep us posted as to any zoning change on the property. I leave you with one question, which I hope you can answer tonight. Although they don't have to, can the applicant for this project or the board find 1,513 people who are for a recycling facility? Thank you very much.
Good evening Supervisor Lockerman and the board. Brian Sillick, Yorktown Heights. Everybody's saying they don't want it, but we can't have it is a better word. There's no way that we can have all these trucks and all this traffic going up and down state roads that cannot and will not be widened. I suggest that you have 144 units you want to put in by the winery. You have a whole bunch you want to put in by Strawberry Street and Catherine Street. You have a whole bunch you want to put in by Trump's. You have 257 units you want to put in at Navajo. You have the trucks. I suggest you take each of these developments, take the developers, have them support and give you money for an independent traffic study that encompasses all these units, all these traffics as one unit. Also, the police department has the traffic department. You'll come up that we cannot support all of these projects, and you're going to have to pick out what has to go. Hopefully it's the recycling plant. But there's no way that you can support all of these projects on this road or these roads. There is no, if you think about it, Connick Parkway does not allow trucks. Where are these trucks going to go? Up north towards Peekskill, south this way, that way, all on roads. You're going to need a bunch of traffic lights. It doesn't matter how many traffic lights you put in, it's not going to resolve the problem, and it's going to make it even worse because the traffic will back up. The other thing I'd like you to consider, which nobody's bringing up, is the 200-foot setback that we require in the town. There's a reason for it. They want a 101-foot setback. I would not grant and suggest you don't give them a variance. Have them make a smaller building or have them move it to another area. But 200-foot setback is there for a reason, for the town fathers. They had stated that it'll never be developed. How do they know what the future holds? But, you know, so Summers has a different setback. That doesn't make it right for us to change our setback. Thank you for listening to me, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Town Board. Let me see if I can do it faster this time. To paraphrase the great Ronald Reagan, here we go again. Jefferson Village, I applaud and I agree with everyone what they said. I don't live in Jefferson Village, but I live very close. I live on Strang and Lee, and I can't speak for everybody there, so I will speak for myself who lives there. I am totally against it. You heard from my last speech. It's going to affect a lot of people, and I understand it's also going to affect the people in Somers. So no matter how you divide it up, it's going to, the 200 setback, if you follow that on every side of the town, you're going to have to, it just doesn't fit to make the story set. I disagree with it. I just say no. I say the third choice is it doesn't fit, forget it. No.
There you are.
May I speak? Yes, good evening. My name is Dennis Lynch. I'm the attorney for the applicant, who is also a taxpayer and also a property owner. You have an outstanding attorney and outstanding law firm representing you. We're not going to debate the law tonight, but I would want to just confirm that you did get my letter, counsel. The board has my letter. Can I just confirm that? Otherwise, I'll read it.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. I think it's clear what we're not here for tonight. We're not here to discuss whether an application of my client should or should not be approved. That's before the planning board. We're not here to discuss what the setbacks are. That's before the planning board too. We're here to talk about a proposed local law change. And as the supervisor said eloquently and correctly, right now, the town, in its wisdom, had zoned this particular property so that a recycling facility was, quote, as of right. So the question is, are you going to change the zone? Now, it is extremely popular, and I'm the only person here that I'm sure is against, not changing this local law. But it's not a question about public opinion, although sometimes it happens that way. I had the fortune 30 years ago to be before a town board, not this town board, where the same arguments were made against the project my client had. The same arguments. Too much traffic, too much this, too much noise. And that particular board, and let's be frank, it's hard not to be able to go against public sentiment, because I've heard it, there's 15,000 voters in one particular part of the town. But that flag right there, that flag is what you all took your oath of office for, to protect and apply the laws in our nation, laws of New York State, laws of the United States. The laws of the United States, and again, counsel will give you advice, I'm just telling you my position, do not allow a change of zone without a good reason for it. What's the background here? The building inspector looked at this application and said, it's okay, there's no need for a setback. He was asked to look at it again, and again he said the same thing, it's okay. And then finally, I'm not going to go into it right now, it's in my letter, the zoning board and the planning board got together and some kind of advisory opinion came up that, well, you do need a variance. Then my client said through a representative, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're not going to worry about a variance. We're going to build this on the bottom portion of the property where there's no variance required. And all of a sudden, what happens? All of a sudden, a zone change is being considered. And the zone change is just this. Zone change is based upon popular wishes. but it's not based upon the Constitution or the rights of my clients have. I'm not here to threaten litigation, but I'm here to promise litigation. I'm here to say that if you take the steps you took, or I think you will take, I believe it's a violation of our rights, and I believe the financial recovery that we will have will exceed the $8 million that I obtained in Orangetown McGee. Your attorney will give you guidance. It's up to you to listen to that guidance, but I'm asking you, resist the public pressure to violate your oath of office, resist the public pressure to do what's popular, and do what you should do, which is protect people's rights, everyone's rights, including my client, the applicant, the taxpayer, and the property owner. I want to thank you for your time. We're always open for discussion. If your counsel wants to reach out to us and say, are there other ways of trying to resolve this without litigation, we welcome that. And we welcome having a situation where people in the audience know more about this, so that you can focus on what you're here for, and that's the local law. If there's any questions you have, I'm happy to try to answer them. Otherwise, I'll sit down. And again, we're always open to discuss anything you want. We want to see the right thing for this town. And sometimes the right thing isn't the most popular thing, but let's see if we can come to a common ground before we get into the litigation mode. I thank you very much for your time. And again, if there's no questions, I'll just sit down. You have a busy calendar ahead of you.
Guys, come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
I always leave meetings with usually booze, sometimes a police escort, but I don't think I'll need one tonight. Thank you
Have
much.
one in the back if you do. Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
His last name was Lynch?
Yep, Lynch.
Missed it.
Good evening, Kim Croce. I live about.
Kim, I'm sorry. Please, thank you.
Thanks. My name is Kim Croce. I live about a mile from the proposed recycling project. I've lived here 55 years, grew up here. My children have been raised here. I've been to 2 board meetings, and that's only because I've agreed with pretty much everything you guys have done over the years. This project has my family reconsidering staying here. We're thinking of moving. It's just a quality of life issue. I agree with everyone at Jefferson Village. I just hope you have the power to turn it down. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Scott Marone. I've been a resident for 40 years. I just wanted to talk about one aspect. There's been a lot of talk about the volume, the tonnage every day, and the number of trucks, and we're talking in the hundreds of each of those. I just did a quick estimate in my head. That means you're talking about a heavy truck going in and out of that facility at least every 2 minutes. And that's if they space themselves out over the 12 hours. The chances that will happen is virtually zero, which means, as one person pointed out in terms of backup on Route 6, what do you do if you've got 6 or 7 of these trucks trying to get in there at the same time, and they're on that one lane of Route 6 towards, say, Somers? Nobody's moving. You're literally going to have everybody stopped for whatever amount of time it takes for those 5, 6, 7 trucks to get in at that one time. So I think the reality is a lot more impactful than just saying it's a lot of hundreds of cars, 100 trucks, or whatever. The actual reality of what's the backup going to be on Route 6? And I live I live on Gay Ridge, so I see the backup every day. They talked about when the school is being let out, but also, I mean, I look out my window and I see the traffic not moving, literally not moving, and that's now. Add all of this to that, it's thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
John Novecchio, second
Hi,
time
John.
speaking. How are you? So very interesting. The attorney mentions our Constitution. We're not talking about the Constitution. We're talking about zoning laws. We're talking about what's appropriate for a community. And zoning laws are meant to be changed. Zoning laws are meant to be proposed to fit what is appropriate for the area. this project is absurd. I mean, that's the only word I could come up with. And litigation is a two-way street as well. So the first accident that happens on that road, the first ambulance that cannot get down that road, and the first fire truck that can't get down that road, I'm sure litigation will be pointing in your direction. So not a wise thing to threaten. I just hope that the town board supervisor makes the correct decisions when they're voting against this project, because not only is this not appropriate, I think there should be a closer look at all the construction on Route 6. Route 6 is a state road, so limited on what we can do as, constructing the road, changing the road, and making it better. So I think there should be a careful look at a lot of projects too, aside from this one, and there should be a moratorium on any construction right now, unless there's a way for them to facilitate on widening the roads or fixing the roads or doing something that can control this. Because a one-lane road, trying to go up there from down Curry Street over towards Somers, at any given time can take you a good 20, 30 minutes. So to add on these trucks and add in this type of project would be insane, number one, and to add any sort of residential projects or anything like that would also have to be looked at closer. I would consider putting a moratorium, do more traffic studies, and come up with different ideas as far as any projects that are put on Route 6 moving forward. Thank you.
John.
Good evening, Board. Michael Kiernan, 2 Brianna Lane, Yorktown Heights, New York, Somers Municipality. 12 years ago, the code was changed, right, to allow recycling. I actually applaud you for having the wisdom today to look at what's being asked to be put into the light industry, and the wisdom and fortitude to look at the code and change it so that it supports what the intent was back then. Then was supposed to be a few trucks and not a transfer station, right? The ask today and what the applicant has put forward is completely different than what the code was expecting to have. So I really appreciate you doing your jobs. I appreciate you always have been hearing me since May. I am part of the community here. My family is part of the community here. We've been here for a long time. My in-laws have been here for even longer. But, you've heard me say it many times. There's 89 homes in Somers butting up against this place. There's the West Spring Pine. I've listened to the applicant's attorneys say that the Somers border was ambiguous and didn't need to be maintained, and you corrected them. Yeah, I listened to another attorney go on a tirade about Somers because they had submitted a letter of acting. I don't know, he's just making allegations about Somers and what their zones were, not getting into the differences between the zoning board and the planning board. I've been to those meetings, and those folks are trying to do their jobs. The planning board can't make a full decision until they have full information, and the zoning board couldn't make decisions until they have complete information. I've listened to the applicant say he wants it up by the upper part of his lot, and that's his ask. But he shouldn't get a variance, and I know that's not what we're about, so I'll shut up about the zoning board and just thank you, and I support the change. And again, thank you for hearing me.
Thanks, Michael.
Hi there, my name is Steve Ravel. I live in Jefferson Village.
Steve?
I just want to know, not really totally familiar on how you get a permit to have something like this, but considering we're talking about commercial vehicles, we're talking about tractor trailers, as far as I can tell, the only way to get to them is through Mohegan Lake. Has anybody tried to drive through Mohegan Lake lately? Okay, it's a 2-lane road, and quite honestly, I've been driving through there for 40-something years, and it's never changed. I had worked for a garbage company years ago, and we had the same complaints about trying to get through Mohegan Lake. It took hours and hours and hours. To maybe just repeat an objection that someone else had, or not an objection, but a fact, that if you're going to have this many vehicles attempting to get into this transfer station, and we know it's not going to happen as quickly as it would look on the study sheet, they're going to be sitting out on Route 6, idling, because I'm sure they're not going to be equipped with the new features you have in cars now that shut them off so they don't have the emissions. So you're going to have all this polluted air just going up into the air. And again, like they were saying before, you have to take into consideration the health consequences of something like this. Maybe not just the dumping of the stuff that goes in there, but the trucks. I've been at transfer stations, and quite honestly, they're not clean. Okay, they don't. It's not a recycling center. It's a construction center. They bring in C&D. Again, somebody mentioned asbestos. Sure, when somebody knocks down a building and it's got some of this old asbestos shingle on it, which is supposedly non-friable, it gets dumped into the computer. It gets in a 30-yard container, and eventually it winds up at the transfer station, where it's now ground up so you can get the most into the tractor trailer. And where does all that dust go? Right up into the air for everybody to smell and everybody to have to breathe. It's just not feasible to have something like this here. And is there a problem with their transfer station in Somers? I mean, I think on Route 100, it's pretty close to the Highway 684. So for commercial vehicles, it makes sense. But it doesn't make any sense to have it here. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ann O'Neill, Jefferson Village.
Hi,
Someone
Ann.
just handed me this, so I'm going to read it. They want to know, AAA wanted to put a transfer station in Peekskill, but they lost their license. Why? But this is what I want to say. I don't take it lightly that someone threatens us with litigation. In Jefferson Village, we have veterans. Most of the people have lived through the Depression. We are a Desert Storm. You name it, we've been through it. So litigation doesn't fool us. We are in it to win it.
Good evening, Board. Howard Walter. I'm a 36-year resident of off Curry Street. I'd like to bring up 2 points. One, traffic. I spent many of my working years trying to go north in the afternoon on Route 6. From 2:30 to 4:30, it is bumper to bumper. To get to Bowen Place, 4 blocks takes half hour. And that was how it was 2 years ago. I'm sure it's the same now. The other thing I heard the applicant talk about, when dumping in the facility, they have these high-speed doors that are going to go up and down real quick, and everything will be done inside. Common sense tells you when it's an 80-degree day, those doors are going to stay open because nobody is going to work inside a factory without air coming through it. So that will add to the air pollution. Thank you.
Thanks, Howard.
Good evening, Pat Carlemi, the applicant. Well, I might not be popular here tonight. I just want to get up and talk to some points that were made tonight. First of all, AAA Karting has never had a transfer station before, was never denied a license. So just want to get to some of the facts. Some of the facts of the other things that are allowed on this property. It's planned light industrial. Before us, I think there was a 3-building, 40, maybe 75,000 to 100,000 square foot building proposed with hundreds of parking spots. Would probably generate 300 to 400 car trips a day. So getting rid of this one use isn't going to eliminate traffic. It's also not going to eliminate the burden of the traffic on Route 6. So this one use is not going to make the traffic on Route 6 any better or any worse. We have 18 acres to develop. We could develop it with warehouses that will allow construction, manufacturing, which will allow the same amount of trucks to come in and out of the property at any given time. So this one use is not really as much of a burden as everybody is saying. It's in the character of the neighborhood. It's planned light industrial. Look at the other uses, that are allowed in here. Manufacturing uses, building of equipment, putting together of equipment, storing of equipment. It's all allowed within this zone. And that wasn't something that was passed 12 years ago. That's something that's been there for 30, 40, 50 years when code changes were done. So I just request everybody looks at what is allowed in this zone, sees, and maybe this isn't the worst thing that could be built there. You know, especially with some conversation discussing between residents, good planning. I've been on a planning board myself for 8 years. I was chairman of a planning board for 4. I've gone through plenty of projects that the public don't agree with, projects that the public do agree with. But when you sit down with the public, with the planning boards, with zoning boards, and with town boards, you come to a compromise. And that's what we're willing to do. Trust me, I don't want to spend money on litigation. Don't want to do that whatsoever. I want discussion. I want to sit down and talk. And if we can all come to a consideration and a place to meet in the middle, that's what we're looking for. What was proposed 12 years ago might be different than what we're looking at today, but we have no problem sitting down and talking. That's all we're looking for. It's a fair shake for a property that we bought for what we thought was an as of right use. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
You're back? You're back.
That was very interesting talk.
John.
A couple of things. I know everybody wants to go home, but I do want to ask a couple of things. Yorktown is in the middle of nowhere. Well, I don't mean that disrespectfully. I live here. But, like, there's no large metropolitan access to a highway. You have to go through all these side streets and so on. Why don't they build this in Pound Ridge or Armonk? Right off 684. That'd be a great spot. Why did you spend all this money to come to Yorktown? Why did you spend all this money to come to Yorktown? I know why. I have friends and clients of mine that are garbage people. Follow the money. That's what it's all about. Number 2, I mentioned earlier that I walked that property personally. There's a stream back there. That stream flows directly into Osceola Lake, and from there it flows towards Jefferson Village, under the Taconic. Eventually, it winds up in the Croton Reservoir. If you look at the map. Where's the dump where they're going to take this stuff to? I travel Route 17 quite a lot, and I see these tractor trailer trucks, one after another, going somewhere. I don't know where they're going. But the idea is that if I was a businessman, and I was for 30 years, I would want to build a facility close to a highway, not in the middle of Westchester County, bordering Putnam County. I don't think it makes economic sense. Thank you.
It's me again, Ann O'Neill, Jefferson Village. I just want to say to the owner of AAA, don't take it personal. It's business to us. A quote from The Godfather. Again, you are not listening to what I was saying. You are not listening to my speech. You're not listening now. Again, when you Google Yorktown Heights, it is described as a peaceful residential area. If you put a recycle unit there, it is not going to be peaceful, and it's not going to no longer be residential. Thank you.
I honestly did not want to get up again, but there is a tremendous difference between vehicles and diesel trucks. And that alone, just the DOT violations from idling trucks, I'm sure the state police will be on that pretty quick. So, again, I believe, aside from this, there should be a moratorium on construction because I believe that there is too much going on Route 6. We need to step back, have meetings with some of these developers and say, we need to build some of this infrastructure first before we start adding more vehicles on Route 6 and projects off of it.
Hey, John, at the end of everything, could you give me your name and number just so we could have a conversation about, that's a whole different issue, but, yeah. We'll talk.
Because we have a lot of information on that.
Charles O'Neill. My concern now is the water. I didn't know there was a stream there. But now that I know there's a stream there, and the water going downhill goes into Osceola, and as much as everybody says there is a stormwater retention somewhere along the line, it ends up in Osceola. And then it decides that it's not going to stay in Osceola, so it wanders its way over into Jefferson Village, into Boganoff's Pond. and then it decides to go across the street down under Hill Boulevard and on its merry way. But every time we get a storm and it backs up, the reason is because the engineers have said that Osceola's outlet flow is much higher than Jefferson Village's outlet flow. So Jefferson Village stops its water from going out, which the town provides us by doing all the storm drains up in the cul-de-sacs higher than Jefferson Village. So the problem we have is that we're getting flooded. So now, what I hear, this company's gonna clear land and put in parking spaces for trucks and everything. So that's even more stormwater going down the hill. So I don't know how we're gonna prevent it, but at some point, Jefferson Village is either gonna have to build a big outlet pipe or just keep getting flooded. I don't think that's right either. So, and just one other thing I remember back in the old days, we never shut the diesel trucks off at night when it got below zero. We let them run all night long in the backyard, and that was how we got them started in the morning. Otherwise, they didn't move. I don't know now with the new technology, but again, I'm saying that's the way it was.
Thank you.
Hi, Scott Marone again. It occurred to me when we were talking about the numbers, I left out the, I know this is primarily talking about the facility, but there's also the housing units. Most of those units, as you would well imagine, will have 2 cars per, which means you're going to also add, if both are approved, 500 cars that have to go in and out of Navajo, in addition to the trucks that would have to go in and out of there.
I'm so glad that you brought, Joanne Silic, Yorktown Heights. I'm so glad you brought that up about the number of cars. If you have teenagers, let's think of Navajo, 254 units. Let's think not only the cars, let's think of the schools, right?
Joanne, we really should focus on the zoning change. I understand.
Taking recycling out.
Yeah, with recycling, you'll have your opportunity when I know you mentioned where's Navajo. I was not silent on it. I told you they have not come back. We don't control them to come back. They come back when they have all their paperwork done because they've been asked to do a lot of stuff for planning. But we're really talking about zoning change, and you'll have plenty of time to talk about Navajo when Navajo's around.
But we hear you. They just haven't brought us anything.
Yeah.
To bring
Okay,
them.
and I'll use the time. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to respond a little bit because I did give a lot of leeway to the comments about a specific project, and I did that because I know there's a lot of public comment about that. It is one of the things that triggered us to look at the zoning law. The zoning law, and the attorney actually spoke about the project also, so he had that same latitude. The zoning laws, as pointed out, the zoning law changed, and zoning laws do change as times change. The board has a responsibility to look at the impacts of the zoning and look at what the laws were written. Some of our zoning laws were written 50, 60, 70 years ago. They do not necessarily fit today's society. We understand that, and that's what we will look at. We'll look at the effects of that zone as compared to what's happening with the intended pollution, the intended traffic, the intended noise. There are a lot of different things, the health and wellness, the infrastructure. That is what we're here to look at as a board. We are going to adjourn this meeting tonight. We're going to come back. We're still waiting for a couple of comments on some of the things. I would like to bring John Tegeter up on a couple things. John, I have a couple questions. So, John, can you help us out with your long-term standing in planning in Yorktown on the genesis of recycling being put into the code?
From 2012?
Yes.
Sure. In 2011, there was a fellow that wanted to do a recycling center, and he came to the town with several potential properties, but was focused on Navajo, a particular property on Navajo, not this one, as I recall. And he had several meetings with the town board, which spanned 2 administrations and picked up again in 2012, in early 2012. And the discussions were fairly wide-ranging, mostly about what is a recycling center, you know, what's going to happen, what can we expect, you know, exactly what are you proposing. And through all the descriptions and discussions, our recycling and refuse director took part in that. And discussions were about that there's contracted pickup for garbage and recycling. We had a contract with Westchester, et cetera, et cetera. The fellow described his operation being limited to his pickup of commercial businesses in town, hoping to gain some business, household business of household recyclables in Putnam. He wasn't going to get it from Yorktown because we already had the contract with Westchester. It was on a smaller property, so the description of the project was a scope that was smaller than the one that we see today. And I'm sure that the recycling business has probably evolved. But that was approved under the proposal that was, I would say, a different level and a different type of recycling. It did not have the construction end of it recycling, and certainly there was no description that was put forth directly or implicitly that would say that there would be as much traffic that we're aware of on this. So it's about scope. So at the time when it was enacted, it was a type of facility that would go on a much smaller piece of property, apparently, and had a much less impactful, I'll put it that way, scope of an operation and all of the associated impacts that come along with that. Same impacts, but on a much lesser scale. So you have to remember also that when it was put in, it allows it in the I-1 zone, which is not limited to Navajo Street. It's also sections on Lexington, which is next to Sylvan Glen Park. So, you know, thinking out that a smaller facility may be able to be mitigated. You know, there's certain areas, including this one, that the scope seems to be something that wasn't anticipated in 2012. So if that's the history that makes sense, that's my recollection.
So I think one of the misconceptions is that the property that we're talking about today was the actual property that they were discussing in 2012. You're saying it was not?
No, it was not.
Okay.
To my recollection, so.
Okay.
I mean, you have to go back into the records and everything, which I've done some, but at that time, Tondorf was still in control and pushing forward his approval, which Mr. Carlemi described, which is the 3 buildings on that property. There's different type of uses, but nevertheless, so it wasn't on this property, no.
I believe, Councilwoman Siegel, you were around back then and also looked into this, so does that sort of gel with your recollection and notes?
Yeah, it was, if you watch the video of the public hearing of 2012 when it was enacted, it was not the current parcel, it was a different parcel. I think it was within the boundaries of the current industrial park. And there were really no details, to my knowledge, my recollection, of what the scope would be.
Well, he described what the scope would be. So he was asked several times, and he did describe the scope. What I think if I could add to what you're saying is, he didn't have actual numbers that described his scope.
That's right, yeah.
Right,
No
but he did
numbers.
describe the operation, and he also was looking at a smaller piece of property, which, you know, I think the board relied on to make the approval, believing that a recycling center in its day would have been a much smaller footprint with much less associated impacts. I believe that's what was happening at that time.
Yeah, and I think it stated at the hearing that there was no site plan. It was.
Yeah, that's correct.
there was
They
no
weren't
site-
talking about site plan specifics.
Yeah,
which
there was no discussion.
a lot of
about
that back and forth here tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar stuff. Yep.
Very good. So we do have quite a few letters here too. We have one, well, this is referring more towards a project, but it talks about things that affect the zoning, not the character of Yorktown, traffic issues which are taken into consideration in zoning. Let's see, that schools really don't come into it. That's not. Nature Conservancy, I know I'd be, you know, with the water, there's definitely some issues there. This is from Jenny Sunshine. We have negative impact on public health and safety, Arlene Rivera. Let's see, what else is in here? Environmental degradation, traffic congestion, road degradation, and let's see. This one is redacted on the name. This talks about traffic, which I know is a consideration again. This is from ABACA, where the original code does not appear to address some of the issues that are pertinent to the establishment of a larger scale transfer station. Citing health, safety, and welfare of the public. And this is just the distribution list. Okay.
To Mr. Lynch.
We have letters from Mr. Lynch. There's a rather large FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request, and then there's a letter from another attorney from the Skizenzia, Ross, Ference, and Carmel, asking us not to discard any of our emails. Yep. Okay. This is about the project itself, so that's not there.
And this is just Arlene again.
Yep, this is Arlene again.
Same one.
So, yep. And that's a backup. So we have these in the record, and I know we're waiting for a couple other things. John, I know you got something in from Transpo Group today. You want to explain to the board what they had?
Sure.
Traffic study.
Do you want to see it?
I have it.
Oh.
Thank you. Transpo Group is our traffic consultant, and we asked them to take a look at this issue. They take a look at all of our traffic issues related to projects, but this is also, you know, the sort of broad issue of what we're speaking about tonight. It does have some specific recommendations relative to what the traffic study that the applicant has produced, but I don't want to get into those since it's, kind of site-specific. But I'm going to go through and say that he gives background about what he's looking at, that he's looked at the use and the environmental assessment form. He reviewed town board meetings and planning board meetings and zoning board meetings. And then he goes on to say that the number of trucks that will access the proposed development will be influenced by the maximum permitted daily capacity, and that the applicant seeks permits for 600 tons per day of construction debris, 200 tons per day of recycling, which construction debris is 3 times the amount of recycling. In the attachment to the EAF titled Operation Plan Recycling Center, the facility is described on pages 1 to 2 as having construction debris side that is a separate physical area from the facility's recycling side. In the minutes from 3 town board meetings that he reviewed from 2011 and 2012, which we just discussed, discussion of the then proposed zoning amendment, there is no record of the town board contemplating that the permitted recycling center use would encompass a facility with separate recycling and construction debris components. Various aspects of truck traffic could be expected to vary between trucks transporting recycling versus construction debris. These may include, non-exhaustively, the number of trucks, the arrival-departure patterns, including predictability of arrivals, vehicle dimensions and weights, driver's knowledge of navigating the site, idling, queuing, processing activity. In combination with the present application seeking construction debris capacity of 3 times as much as recycling capacity, it appears that the proposed use is likely to have more intense truck traffic generating properties than a recycling center as understood by the town board when it added this permitted use to the zoning text in 2012. Then he goes on to, have some comments regarding the actual traffic study, which I won't get into.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam, anything to add at this point from you?
No.
All right. And I will just make one more comment, and then I think we'll take the vote to adjourn the meeting. We were asked before if we have the power to say no. We have the power to say yes, we have the power to say no, but we do have a public trust to hear everything. And the implication that we don't do that is rather insulting, Mr. Lynch. But that's your grandstanding. Mr. Lynch. Thank you. We don't have a back and forth. Mr. Lynch, we don't have a back and forth. You had your chance to address me. I'm addressing. No, we've. Fantastic. So we will do what we feel is right for the town. And just so you are aware, sometimes it does include litigation. If that is the case, we will stand by it. We had to do that with a recent garbage contract. We won that litigation because we were right. We make our decisions for the town. We are not going to look at an individual project, but as pointed, the project and the changing of what the facilities have become takes us into a new realm that we haven't been in before. But that is why you have zoning changes, zoning board of appeals, because zoning doesn't always work. So we will sit back. We will have, I'm sure, individual discussions. I'm sure that our people have questions for our attorney, for our zoning chair. People want to go back, from what I understand from earlier, and view some of those meetings from 2012. And we'll adjourn and give everyone the opportunity to do that.
Supervisor, I did not threaten litigation. I promised litigation.
No, I heard you. I heard
You said it was a threat.
Okay, your promise of litigation is not appreciated, but I wasn't talking about litigation. I spoke about how you...
I respect your position. I'm just trying to say that we have our rights.
Absolutely.
We have
And I
done
think we're
things,
giving you-
reliance upon as of right, reliance upon the record that developed. We may disagree, But trust me, this is the same thing that happened 20-some years ago in Orangetown, McGee. It cost the taxpayers there $8 million. And if the town board, you have an excellent attorney, you have an excellent law firm, if you decide that this particular zoning change should take place, then we'll deal with it. So,
Absolutely.
fair enough.
And we will make a decision the next couple of weeks.
And I look forward to it.
Thank you.
I just want to say you're splitting hairs with the threat and the promise. I mean, if I turn around and I promise to punch somebody in the nose, that's a threat.
No,
So-
that's
No, but thank you very much.
That's illegal. That's illegal. That's illegal to do that. But to say you're going to commence an action to protect property rights, that's a promise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. this is
All
for
right,
popcorn.
so let's go into,
Oh, don't. Resolutions.
guys, please. We have some resolutions tonight. From the Office of the Chief of Police, we're going to authorize the supervisor to sign a memorandum of understanding and related body-worn camera addendum between the town of Yorktown and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in support of the Westchester Safe Streets Task Force.
I have some questions about that.
Sure. So the Safe Street Task Force it's a multi-jurisdictional agency that works in real-time crime, similar to how they caught the second attempted assassin on President Trump down in Florida. But it's a fantastic thing. They've asked one of our detectives to participate and be a task force officer, and that would be Detective Hannigan. Susan, what's your question?
The whole idea of the task force is a very positive thing. I have no reservations about that. I have some concerns about our local police detective is going to be part-time. One, what will the hours be? Part-time, how many hours will he be committed to this task force? Will he be functioning outside of Yorktown? And what impact will this have on the current staffing? And will it possibly incur overtime costs because of his absence? Those are concerns for us and for our taxpayers. Again, the concept is an admirable concept, and I have no problem with the concept. I'm just concerned about this actually incurring potential costs for Yorktown because of overtime, because we're going to be short-staffed.
So we will look and see what the FBI kicks in on this. I'll talk to the chief about that. But honestly, we use the Real Crime Task Force. We had 2 young ladies go missing. It was Real Crime Task Force that was able to find them. This is a very valuable asset that the Westchester community participates in. There are benefits. The police work is not solely for the town of Yorktown, but it's for Westchester County. And are there costs involved in being in it? I'm sure there are some. We'll lose Detective Hannigan off the street in Yorktown, but honestly, he's out of Yorktown a lot of times anyway, because some of his cases have taken him to Connecticut, to the Bronx, to Manhattan, to Queens, Brooklyn, New Jersey.
Well, those are working on Yorktown cases. Again, I applaud the task force. I'm just concerned because it doesn't say part-time could be 10 hours, it could be 20 hours. I don't know, and it doesn't specify.
Typically, the cost gets absorbed by the task force.
Correct. Yeah, but I want to make sure. I don't want to
Yeah, that's fine.
out.
Just
I will talk with the chief, but I believe it is more. Look, if there's a big case and they pull everyone, there's a big case and they pull everyone. There might be nothing going on. There might be a couple of hours. So I don't think it's a definitive thing. He's not assigned to them as you report here 4 hours on Wednesday and 4 hours on Saturday. It's
as needed.
Yeah.
Well, those are kinds of clarifications that I would.
But we need to get the paperwork in so they could get everything started. I will call the chief in the morning. I'll see about getting those answers. But honestly, I have no problem if we have to spend a little money on it. It's a safety and security of our people. And I've said it 100 times. It's like having an officer here. You don't wait till something happens and then put them in place. We need to make sure, especially nowadays when the task force is working on, things like those two young ladies, two vulnerable girls, teenage girls. Now they happen to have, had other circumstances, but that's extremely important. And I don't think we turn a blind eye to those needs of our community and our society.
Safety first.
Yep. Do you want me to take that vote separately?
No, I will vote for it, but I think it could use some
Absolutely.
additional clarification.
Absolutely. From the Office of the Highway Superintendent, authorize the Highway Department to purchase mobile radios under the Westchester County Contract 5846 BPS in the amount of $61,205.12. And that covers 47 mobile radios, 2 base station radios. From the Office of the Town Clerk, authorize the supervisor to sign agreement with Jimmy Steele for structural repairs needed at the Archival Records Center, which we have some structural issues that Diana found and pointed out, and has been very, very diligent at making sure they get repaired and none of our valuable documents
This guy's falling.
are destroyed.
We have two very, very bad steel beams
Yeah,
that are
it's not going to be the sky, it's going to be the
deteriorating
building.
to the point where there's big holes in them.
Yeah.
So we're going to also, with that, authorize the supervisor to sign agreement with Joseph Rena PE PLLC DBA Site Design Consultants to prepare the schematic plans and details for the implementation of drainage repairs at the Archival Record Center, which is what caused the deterioration in the first place. We are going to authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Joseph Rena PE PLLC DBA Site Design Consultants to develop plans and details for the repair of the deteriorating steel columns in the front corner of the Archival Records building. We're going to authorize the town clerk to report the record of activities for elected and appointed officials to the New York State and local employees retirement system. We're going to authorize the town clerk to advertise a public hearing for a proposed local law amending Chapter 300 entitled Zoning regarding solar-powered generation systems and facilities. And I believe that got posted today?
Yes.
Yep. So the law is posted on our website. Sorry, lost my place. Yep. Authorize the town clerk to advertise a public hearing for a proposed local law to consider a battery energy storage systems moratorium. We're going to authorize the town clerk to advertise a public hearing for a proposed local law to consider a smoke shop moratorium, and that would be an extension of our moratorium. And from the Office of the Town Controller, we're going to authorize the Controller to proceed the following budget transfers for payment to Jimmy Steele for structural repairs of the Archival Records Center, which is enumerated below. Authorize the Controller to process the following budget transfer to pay for payment to Site Design Consultants for engineering services at the Archival Records Center pertaining to drainage, and that's below. And then we are going to authorize the Controller to process the following budget transfer for payment to Site Design Consultants for engineering services at the Archival Records Center pertaining to steel column design and inspections, as enumerated below, and all of those will be coming from general fund balance to take care of that. We are going to authorize the Controller to process the following budget transfer for payment to host the Westchester Municipal Officers Association meeting held on September 12th, 2024, and that will also come out of contingency to supervisor conferences. That happens once every 4.5 years, so I probably won't be around for the next one. But they will be hosting that again in 4.5 years. I think we actually might have missed one because of COVID. From the Office of the Water Superintendent, authorize the Controller to process the following budget transfers for the Water Department. Special projects to equipment maintenance for repair of fans and housing on the 2009 International Vector truck. And then I will also, since we're talking about water, thank you, Susan, for pointing out about the 7 a.m. proposed shut-off time for Glen Rock. The water will not be shut off until 9 a.m.
Oh, thank you.
So, please, if you hear
Take
of
your
anything
showers.
like that, yes, if you hear of anything like that in the future, please let me know so I don't have to
Okay.
wait to text poor Paul at home.
Okay, I just got a call today. The water department did, to its credit, send notices to the people on Glen Rock, and that's why somebody called me.
Right, I wasn't aware of it, so thank you for letting me know. All right, can I have a motion on?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then, we still got another 2
Oh.
hours and 10 minutes. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Turn.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Buonanotte, Yorktown.
Good night, all. Thank you.
Good night.